Hello, everyone. This is the talk of the day. I did a Facebook post and I kind of just put how my dad used a moment of plowing to convince me to want education more than anything else. So in my podcast, I shared how it was like for me learning during that war. So you can go listen to my podcast, which was like a preset of this recording. Today I'm recording both on video and audio. It was an early morning. My father was an early riser. He was a very early morning person. So I knew that when we visited the village, it would not change his wake up time. He was just an early riser. So we actually knew that when my father was there, we woke up very early. So we had woke up early, and I thought it was just going to be a normal day when my father said, "Oh, you are going to plow with me today." I said, "No, I don't know how to plow." He said, "Well, I'm going to teach you how to plow." And for some of you who come from Zimbabwe, plowing with a plow takes a lot of strength. Now, you take a 12-year-old and say to a 12-year-old, you are going to hold the plow and you are going to plow. There are a few things that happen. The kid might be able to be strong enough and manage to hold the plow. But for me, that wasn't the case. I was very tiny, thin, tall, but thin kid. Average height of my time, maybe, but I was taller than some people of my age. I was not able to do it. The first lap was me crying and trying to figure out how this thing was done. I wore flip-flops. In Zimbabwe, we call them slippers. That's what I wore. My father said to try to warn me, don't wear those. I said, I don't want to be stepping in the mud. I was wrong. I had to look for the flip-flops later. They were buried in the sand. My father was very tough when he wanted to be tough. He said, you are going to learn how to plow today. I tried. I was being dragged by the span of cattle. Me and the plow were being dragged, falling and being dragged and being told to get up and keep going. It was quite a terrible sight. I failed badly on that skill. After about maybe 4 laps or 5, I'm not quite sure, but it was like an eternity. My father said, stop the cattle. They stopped the span of oxen, and At that moment, I was sobbing, drenched in mud. And my father looked at me and said, "Look at me." And I had my head down. My father said, "Look at me." Right straight in my eyes. "Look at me." I looked at him. He had the most serious face that I had ever experienced. He said to me, "What do you think you're doing? Because this is not plowing." I said, "I can't just, I'm failing to figure how to do this." My father said, you have failed with flying colors to plow. Look up and look around. What do you see?" And anytime my father would ask you a question, I knew he had the answer. So I knew I had to think, to respond, because with my father, it was not spanking. Oh, my mom spanked us all the time. With my father, it was not like growing up, it was not, spanking was not the thing with my father. His words were more convincing and more powerful. And my father would have dialogue with you and reason with you. And once he reasons with you, you would never be the same again. And if you had made a mistake, you would not make that mistake again. That was his style of, I actually wish more parents would do that in teaching their kids. To teach them to reason rather than to just spank them, but to teach them to reason. Oh, I think I was only spanked once by my dad. Once or twice by my dad. Childish things. I think one time I was refusing to get my hair cut, and my hair was supposed to be cut. I don't even know why it was supposed to be cut, but I think I was a nuisance, and then he spanked me, and that went very bad with my mom. They ended up having my uncle intervening and my mom threatening to leave my dad because dad had beat me up. So I think from that experience, that's what made my dad not be the one spanking kids. And so he changed his style. Well, let me get back to the business of the day. So then, once I looked up, I said, well, there are many people in the fields. My father said, no, there are not just many people in the fields. These are women and children. How many men do you see in the fields? And for sure, they were like 2 that I saw. And my father said, the men are not in the fields. Where do you think they are? I said, I don't know. My father said, they are in the city. They work in offices, they work in the industry. And so these women that you see, they are stuck in the fields. They didn't go to school. And this is what they will do. Work in the fields for the rest of their lives. I'm not saying working in the field is bad. But my father was trying to teach me a lesson. So he said, I have 2 choices for you. If you want to be like the women in the fields, I'm going to take that. You're going to get in the field and you're going to work. And you get back on the plow and we are going to spend as much time as we can to get you to be able to plow, because this is what you will be doing for the rest of your life. Whew. That was hard. I looked at it. I said, first option, this option might not work for me. He gave me a little bit of some time to think. And then he said, the second option is, you will make a decision today and you will give me a promise that you will be an educated woman. And you will go to school. And education is the greatest gift that I will put in your hands that no man will take away from you. Even if you decide to marry, your husband will not be able to take the knowledge out of your head. You will be an asset. I looked at that and I said, I already love education. I had already gone to school during war. I was so committed, and sometimes would pass through showers of bullets, running from school or going to school. And by this time, it was safe. Zimbabwe had gained its independence. So I said to my father, I would take the second option. He said, if you are going to take the second option, you are going to give me a promise and you are going to keep that promise and I will keep mine. I said, I give you my promise. And at this moment, I had stopped crying and I was very alert to say, I am giving my father this promise and I'm going to have to keep this promise. I was only 12. I was not even a teenager yet. But I said, I'm going to make this promise because plowing was not going to work for me. And he said, if you choose education, I will keep my promise. You will not come back to plow. And I will not teach you to plow. If you take education, you are taking education alone, and you have to know you can't fail at it because you don't know how to plow. I said, yes, Dad, I will take education. He said, when you take education, you are going to be top of your class. Every term, you are going to come top of your class, no more than the top 5 or top 10. You have to stay within that space. I said, yes, sir, I will. And when I was doing my primary education, I was either number 1, number 2, or number 3, but I never went out of the top 5 of my class. That was my commitment. But what my father also did, he kept his commitment. He said every term, when you keep your promise, I will give you something. You tell me what you want, and I'll give it to you. And every term, if I said I wanted an umbrella, if I said I wanted a raincoat, and sometimes I would say ridiculous things to the core. Like there was a time that I said I wanted a pink night dress with embroidery. And my father looked for that pink night dress. I don't even know where he got it, because I thought it was a hard thing to get. And my father found that pink. This was like just in my imagination. I'd never seen the pink night dress. Because at this time I'm keeping my promise and I'm trying to challenge my dad, and my dad found it. There was another term that I said I wanted a dress that I can use and stick my pants on the side of the dress. And I was thinking of like pockets. And I remember my father brought a royal blue dress with places where you could put pockets. They were not pockets. They were little slots where you could put your pens. And I loved that dress until my mother told me to give it to my cousin's sister, which is a story for another day. Because that was anyway, let me just tell it. My mother said I should give that dress to my cousin Gay. So Gay was like the person that I was supposed to leave my clothes to. And my mother had taken responsibility over her, and my mother had become her mother because my uncle had divorced her mom. So my mother had stepped up and become her mother. I was not good at sharing. So my mother said, give this dress to your sister. I refused. And then my mother went and bought new things for my sister and nothing for me. And at that moment I learned, when she says I must give, I have to give. So from that moment, I became a giver. And I never, even when I was in high school, I was giving out clothes. I was sharing what I had. And I had learned from that incident. But this was my, I didn't want to give the dress because it was my commitment dress. But it had become smaller. So I kept on just putting it on. And my mother wanted to say, you can no longer fit into this dress. Let your sister use the dress. So eventually, I did let my sister use the dress. My father kept his promise to give me something every semester I do well, even when I was in college. When I graduated in the art school, my father gave me $1,000. And $1,000 in 1999 was a lot of money. I think it was still either 1-on-1 or 1:2 with a pound and 1-on-1 with the US dollar. And this is 1999. And every term when I went to boarding school, my father gave me pocket money, $300. And towards the end of the term, he would give me $120. Now, for some of you who went to school in the 90s, who went to high school in the 80s, being given $300 was like a salary for some people. But it was my father's commitment to say, as long as you are doing well, I'll give you what you want. I had full uniforms, hat, blazer, Jack and Jill shoes, socks, to the T. So there was no way I could fail because my father was keeping his promise. And that kept me on my toes to keep my promise. So for some of you parents who may not think challenging your child is a good thing, I want to say being challenged by my father was a good thing. I wouldn't be an academic without that challenge. Because if I had something to fall on which was not education, maybe I was not going to be as serious as I was with my education. And that is the reason why I am a good reader, a reader of books, a reader of people, reader of situations, and a sponge of information and wisdom. Because I got that challenge at a very early age of my life. And today I can attest to the importance of challenging your child, teaching your child to reason, teach your child to be committed to something. It was very tough to fail at plowing, right? Because it was manual labor. But it taught me that if I don't want to have a life of manual labor, the same way I see my father in the office, my father was an auditor, an internal auditor of a steel company, Morway Industry. And by the time he retired, he was at the top of his game. And it took him 5 years to finally retire because he had to teach someone else to take over, because pretty much my father was a hard worker. For 35 years that he worked with that company, he never called off and he never went to work late. That's discipline. Now, the discipline that he modeled is also the discipline that I mirror. I never cancel a class, and I tell my students that I am one of those professors who will not cancel class. I may adjust the class if we finish speeches early, or if I know that the group needs time to rehearse, I can give them time to rehearse, but I will never cancel class. And you can see I am an academic because now I work at the University of Cincinnati and I'm teaching communication at the University of Cincinnati, and I'm wearing my Beckett. It's just a good thing that I'm wearing. I decided to record and I'm just accidentally, I'm just wearing a UC t-shirt and UC track bottom with the Beckett logo on it. So I became an academic, and the results are beautiful because of that one moment when my father helped me to make a choice that altered the trajectory of my life. So I hope that by learning my story or by hearing my story, you will find some ways of challenging your kids to be people who can commit themselves to learning and people who can be guided towards a certain goal and actually accomplish that goal in their lives. Because most likely, what they will achieve will be an extended hand of your legacy. They will carry your name. They will carry your wisdom. They will carry those lessons with them. And that, my friends, always makes a difference. So, share with me your teachable moments with your parents And please, let's stop saying, I'm a 2K. Let's stop saying, oh, these kids that were born in the 2000s. Let's teach them lessons that will make the difference. Because the ones that I have taught, they are amazing. And you can teach your kids. And you can have teachable moments with them that will be lifelong commitments that they will long cherish and admire. And most likely, that will be at the core of their success. Thank you, everyone.